Hi, my name's Craig and I'm one of the studio painters for Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Today I'm going to be showing you a really effective technique for quickly painting your Fallout miniatures. And for this video, we'll be focusing on undoubtedly the best companion in the whole of the Mojave, Rose of Sharon Cassidy herself, or Cass to you and me. We're going to be using a technique called pre-shading. So I'll be starting by priming the model in black, followed by a zenithal highlight from above using Tamiya Fine White Primer. This will help us by establishing the initial areas of light and shade, and we'll be thinning our paints quite a bit so that the translucency of the paints will allow that initial pre-shade to show through, giving us a great head start on building up shadows and highlights. This also means that we only need to apply one thin coat to most of these areas rather than building up several layers to get a solid coat as we might do otherwise. Here, I'm painting all the areas of skin with scale 75 pink flesh. And as I said earlier, I've thinned this quite a bit with about a 1-to-1 mix of paint and water. As you can see, the base coat on the skin is finished, and we can move on to the areas of clothing, which is where this technique really starts to shine. I painted the leather jacket using Vallejo model colour beige brown, again thinned around 1-to-1 with water. And I'm concentrating on applying this coat quite quickly and smoothly since we're only applying the one coat. So don't overload your brush, work in small areas at a time, keep your brush moving quickly, and make sure the paint doesn't pool in the recesses. And once you've finished with one area, don't go back over it. Once the paint is dry, we can really see how that thin coat has given us a head start on the shading and highlighting, and with only one quick layer. So let's do the same for the jeans, giving those a coat of scale 75 Canterbury blue. And yes, I've thinned this 1-to-1 with water again. The jacket and jeans are dry, and they're already looking great. And while this technique is great for really textured areas such as clothing, for things like the hat that don't have quite as much texture and need to be a lighter colour overall, we're best just base coating as usual. So I'll apply a couple of thin coats of Vallejo model colour Iraqi sand all over the hat. Once the hat's dry, we're back to thinning our paints and painting the remaining details in the same way as before, starting with Vallejo model colour orange brown for the hair, and then model colour flat brown for the gun stock and boots. Like with the hat, this technique doesn't really work for metallics, so we just give all the metallic areas a regular base coat of scale 75 black metal. We then return to orange brown for the strapping on the gun, and this will need a few coats to get a solid coverage. And finally, touch up the shirt using any white or off-white paint that you might have to hand to complete the base coat. Now we've got the main areas base coated, it's time to add some additional shading with a couple of washes. Starting with a wash of strong tone from the Army Painter, and we're applying this all over the jeans, the boots, jacket and the gun. As with any washes, don't overload your brush and apply it in a thin, controlled way, making sure as you go along that there's no wash pooling in any of the details. As you can see here, the first wash is dry, and having applied that same wash over both the jeans and the jacket has done a great job of unifying the various different parts of the paint job. So we'll do the same again with Army Painter Soft Tone, and apply this over the entirety of the skin, the shirt, the hair and the hat. Once the washes are dry, the model is really starting to come together. And if you're just looking for a tabletop paint job, you'd be totally fine to simply paint the base and she'll be ready for the tabletop. But we'll add a few highlights to take it to the next level, and start by highlighting the jacket with a 1-to-1 mix of the original beige brown and Vallejo model colour ivory. Just applying this to the raised details and anywhere you'd expect to get a bit more light hitting from above. At this point, you can also add in some leather texture by painting in some little scuff marks and dots with this highlight colour, but just remember, less is more when it comes to small details like this, and be careful not to go overboard and ruin your paint job. The last highlight for the jacket is the same colours, but now with 2 parts ivory to 1 part beige brown in the mix. And we use this just to pick out the extreme highlights and edges, and again added in some tiny dots and lines to represent some texture in those lighter areas. Now that we've finished the jacket, we're going to do the same thing with the other details, starting with the jeans. And we'll be highlighting these, starting with scale 75 Mediterranean blue. Again, picking out the raised details, edges, and any sculpted texture. And for the final highlight on the jeans, we're adding ivory to the Mediterranean blue in a 1:1 ratio. Using the same colour to highlight different parts of the model is a great way to unify the paint job, and represent the fact that it will be the same type of light hitting each area of the model, which in the end gives it a more natural look. For the skin, we first highlight using a mix of 2 parts scale 75 pink flesh to 1 part model colour ivory. And we use this to pick out raised areas on the hands, face and other skin areas. With the face, we concentrate on the cheekbones, the bridge of the nose and the chin, recognising that with the hat she's wearing, there wouldn't be too much light getting to her facial features. And then finally, add some more ivory to the mix and very sparingly, just pick out a few final highlights. The final area we're going to look at here is the hat, and we highlight again with a 1:1 mix of the original base colour, in this case Iraqi sand, and ivory. With the hat there are more pronounced edges than the rest of the model, so make sure you're picking out the edges of the hat with this colour. And then finally, go in with pure ivory and just pick out those extreme edges and highlights. And with that, the main areas of the model are complete, and all that's left to do is paint the final small details and the base. And there you go, cast is complete, and ready to head over to the Mojave outpost and probably prop up the bar for the foreseeable future. I hope you found this technique useful. When we're looking for quality and speed, pre-shading can be a powerful ally, not unlike Cass herself. So, once again, thanks for watching and happy painting. Bye for now.